Classic Nokia mobiles, Batman Forever. In 1989, the first infamous group of hackers known the world over, strike of Operation Aurora, Russian intelligence agency, published private documents from Democratic Committee emails. Hi, and welcome to Cyber News, your source for reliable, cutting-edge commentary on the world of cybersecurity. Today, we're offering a crash course on the history of hacking and cybersecurity. We'll flash back to the past and talk about some of the most infamous security breaches so far. You're right to think of cybersecurity as a pretty modern issue. It's almost impossible not to be aware of its importance. You may be surprised at how far back the story of cybersecurity and hacking extends. Back in the 70s, when one of the very first versions of the internet was introduced, security wasn't really baked into its recipe, likely because no one else had access. But as we've learned, it was only a matter of time before that open door was exploited. We set out to create a comprehensive timeline of the major milestones, turns, and events that chronicle cybersecurity's long history so we can better understand what it may look like in the future. Our story begins in 1971 when the message, "I'm the creeper, catch me if you can," created several users of the ARPANET, one of the earliest forms of the internet. This computer worm was revolutionary at the time, bouncing between computers and displaying messages. This worm had no malicious intent, but it sure did pave the way for a limited trend that explored the internet's vulnerabilities. In 1989, the first recorded denial of service attack in history occurred. Robert Morris created a worm that dramatically slowed down the internet speed and functionality. Originally, this worm wasn't designed with any harmful intent, rather to highlight security flaws. But disaster struck when a fault in its code caused it to replicate excessively, causing extensive damage and a partition of the entire internet that lasted for days. That same year was the first known ransomware attack. Although poorly designed and easily removed, the AIDS Trojan was created by Joseph Popp to extort money. This malware was distributed on floppy disks via regular door-to-door mail. Luckily, one short year later, an act was passed in the UK that made any unauthorized access of your computer system illegal. This act not only brought cybercrime severity to the forefront, it became the foundation for cybersecurity protections, even amended today. Classic Nokia mobiles, Batman Forever, and the Macarena set the scene in 1995. But did you know this was the birth year of the contemporary SSL? The Secure Sockets Layer is an internet protocol that encrypts communications between your computing device and your online destination. The SSL 2.0 version that was released in 1995 was a bedrock for the Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, more commonly known as HTTPS, which you'll often see at the beginning of web addresses when you're browsing securely. With the release of Windows 98 in 1999, cybersecurity, along with everyday casual computing, effectively went mainstream. The massive spike in computer use with this operating system paved the way for a host of security software. Windows released a series of patches to improve protection of its software, while the production of anti-hacking software for home computers blossomed. Love was in the air in 2000, when over 10 million Windows users were infected with the I love you bug, the fastest spreading worm in computer history at that time. This pervasive email attack sent an attachment that, when opened, activated the worm. This worm overwrote random files and sent a copy of itself to every address within Outlook. 2002 was an exciting year. Not only was the highly anticipated second Lord of the Rings movie released, it was also the birth year of the US Department of Homeland Security. What a time to be alive! Right from the word go, they designated groups to protect IT infrastructure, which today has evolved into a large division exclusively dedicated to cybersecurity. Then, Anonymous was born, the first infamous group of hackers known the world over. This group has a vast network of users with seemingly no leader, often acting in the interest of protecting the privacy of the everyday person. One of their more notorious digital heists was the hacking of the Church of Scientology website, with their now infamous Guy Fawkes mask steadily in the place. The topics of internet and security started to go hand in hand. As the computer industry grew, year over year, so did the efforts to exploit it. It was an ever-growing relationship and a bittersweet one at that. 2010 saw the strike of Operation Aurora. This was the year Google announced a coordinated breach of its infrastructure in China. Their whole purpose? To unmask intelligence operatives on the US law enforcement agency watch list. In 2013, Yahoo fell victim to one of the largest scale hacks in history when over 3 billion user accounts were compromised. By installing malware directly on Yahoo's servers, hackers gained virtually unlimited backdoor access, revealing a wide host of confidential user information. All that can be seen as a crescendo to probably the most infamous security breach of all time, 2016's WikiLeaks. This was the year that hackers from the Russian intelligence agency published private documents from Democratic Committee emails. This entire affair dramatically affected how Americans viewed that year's election, becoming a sobering example of how cybercrime could influence international politics. Today, cybercrime seems to be an everyday part of life. Over the decades, we've seen worms grow into viruses, viruses inspire consumer cybersecurity software, the birth of hacktivist groups, and nations making entire coordinated cybercrime efforts. Before, the boundaries were being tested for the sake of academic research. Today, hacks threaten entire democratic elections, and state-sponsored attacks have become a mainstay of global headlines. If the past has taught us anything, it's that cybercriminals are growing and evolving just as exponentially as the internet itself. And it's only a matter of time before cyber attacks further exploit emerging technologies like AI and machine learning. Sadly, we have a long way to go before we live in a cyber-secure world. And that likely requires more research and effort to reduce cybercrime and minimize their effects whenever possible. And what do you think cybersecurity's past says about our future? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to learn more about cybersecurity's past and stay up to date with online security, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for regularly updated information about anything and everything cybersecurity.